Krishna, Buddha, Jesus. And then I was overwhelmed by the realization, now listen, that God isn't a being, but a state of being. And I was now that state of being. Hear it?
Yeah.
I saw my life intricately woven into everything I'd known so far. My experience was like a single thread woven through the huge and complexly colorful images of an infinite tapestry. Every single encounter was woven together to create the fabric that was the sum of my life up to this point. I may have been only one thread, yet I was integral to the overall finished picture. Seeing this, I understand that I owed it to myself, to everyone I met, and to life itself, to always be an expression, listen to this, to always be an expression of my own unique self. I loved your meditation, Jill.
Yes.
It was right on. You had to read this book, right? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Trying to be anything or anyone else didn't make me better. It just deprived me of my true self. It kept others from experiencing me for who I am, and it deprived me of interacting authentically with them. Being inauthentic also deprives the universe of who I came here to be and what I came here to express. So in that state of clarity, she's in that state of being, that state of clarity, that state of knowing. I always realized that I'm not who I also realized that I'm not who I always thought I was. Here I am without body, race, culture, religion, beliefs, yet I continue to exist. Then what am I? Who am I? I certainly don't feel reduced or smaller in any way. On the contrary, I haven't even been this huge, this powerful, or this all-encompassing. I haven't ever been this huge, this powerful, or all-encompassing. Wow, I've never, ever felt this way. There I was without my body or any of my physical traits, yet my pure essence continued to exist. And it was not a reduced element of my whole self. Get that? It wasn't a reduced element. In fact, it felt far greater and more intense and expansive than my physical being. Magnificent, in fact. I felt eternal, as if I'd always existed and always would without beginning or end. Remember the Alpha and the Omega?
Yeah.
Jesus said, I'm the Alpha and the Omega.
Yes.
Beginning, right, okay? Enlightened beings. I was filled with the knowledge that I was simply magnificent. How have I never noticed this about myself before? You hearing this? Have you noticed that you're magnificent? Do you know that you're magnificent? Do you know that you're the eternal one?
Pat always says that.
Oh, I love that. Pat always says that to Jill. Okay. You're magnificent. Who was the guy on Saturday Night Live? Did he say that? No, marvelous. That was like marvelous. Okay. As I looked at the great tapestry that was the accumulation of my life up to that point, I was able to identify exactly, now here it is, what had brought me to where I was today. Just look at my life path. Well, you would have looked at it if you read the book. Why, oh why, but listen what she did to herself. Why, oh why have I always been so harsh with myself? Denise DeSimone talked about this too.
She's
Loving, somebody else who overcame a 4th stage diagnosis of cancer. It was about what? Self-love.
yes.
So here's Anita saying, why have I always been so harsh with myself? Why was I always beating myself up? Why was I always forsaking myself? Why did I never stand up for myself and show the world the beauty of my own soul? Why was I always suppressing my own intelligence and creativity to please others? I betrayed myself every time I said yes when I meant no. Why have I violated myself by always needing to seek approval from others just to be myself? Why haven't I followed my own beautiful heart and spoken my own truth? Can you relate?
Yes.
Why don't we realize this when we're in our physical body, she says. How come I never knew that we're not supposed to be so tough on ourselves? I still felt myself completely enveloped in a sea of unconditional love and acceptance. I was able to look at myself with fresh eyes, and I saw that I was a beautiful being of the universe. I understood that just the fact that I existed made me worthy of this tender regard rather than judgment. Just the fact that she existed made her worthy of the unconditional love. I didn't need to do anything specific. I deserved to be loved simply because I existed. Nothing more and nothing less. Do you get that? You see, once she understood that and became that and allowed that to express in and through and as her, that's the healing, when you get it. This was a rather surprising realization for me because I'd always thought I needed to work at being lovable. I believed that I somehow had to be deserving and worthy of being cared for, so it was incredible to realize this wasn't the case. I'm loved unconditionally for no other reason than simply because I exist. Now, she spent some time in the book really addressing, because I know this comes up for people all the time, well, what about people who do horrible things? Are they loved unconditionally just because they exist? And she spends quite a time talking about, certainly when she came back from her, they call it NDE, her near-death experience, that she had a compassion then for perpetrators and people who committed harm against other people that she hadn't had before, because she had the understanding that they were confused, that they were lost, that they were filled with self-loathing and hatred. That's the only way you can harm others. If you love yourself, then you spread joy everywhere and acceptance everywhere. You don't judge others. You're not harsh with your words or your actions. She knew it. So she could see who they were. She could see that they were lost and asleep, as most of us are. And instead of attacking themselves with cancer, which many of us do, they attacked others. But what's the difference? Whether we ravage ourselves and devour and destroy ourselves or other people, it's the same thing when we have the self-hatred and loathing. I became aware that we're all connected. This was not only every person and living creature, but the interwoven unification felt as though it were expanding outward to include everything in the universe. Every human, animal, plant, insect, mountain, sea, inanimate object in the cosmos. I realized that the entire universe is alive and infused with consciousness, encompassing all of life and nature. Everything belongs to an infinite whole. I was intricately, inseparably enmeshed with all of life. We're all facets of that unity. We're all one. And each of us has an effect on the collective whole. This is important here. I also understood that the cancer was not some punishment for anything I'd done wrong, nor was I experiencing negative karma as a result of any of my actions, as I previously believed. It was as though every moment held infinite possibilities. And where I was at that point in time was a culmination of every decision, every choice, and every thought of my entire life. This is a very unity book in the sense that she really came into the understanding that our thoughts are our consciousness. Life is consciousness. We create it. But the thing I like in this book, too, is she doesn't say, well, just spend your time thinking